Good evening. I'm William Baxter, and this is my podcast, Web Speech Platform. Tonight I will be giving the final presentation on Web Speech Platform here on my YouTube channel, which is Frontier Web Singer, until back to school in mid-August. My other podcast, Frontier Folk Singing with William Baxter, is already been moved to Facebook for the late spring and summer, and this podcast will be doing the same. Tonight's interpretive reading from my book, Web Files, is Realities of Being a Self-Advocate, Part 4. And this is the final chapter of that series. In my past, 3 articles on the realities of being a self-advocate, written in 2017, I have talked about the concept that people who have an intellectual and or developmental disabilities or any other disabilities, that's IDD for intellectual and developmental disability, have more limitations than people who don't have disabilities. However, I also stated that this doesn't mean people with IDD can't excel at anything. I pointed out that like every human being, each person with IDD or other disabilities is unique. Some people with IDD make it all the way through college. A lot of people with disabilities do not. Few people with disabilities are good musicians, whereas a lot of others with disabilities are not. Some have good relationships with the opposite sex, whereas a lot of people with disabilities, such as me, do not. Society often tries to put everyone with IDD and other disabilities into a box. I've included a few examples that I'd like to read to you. 1. People with IDD and other disabilities should be segregated and never mainstreamed. Again, each person is unique. Some people with disabilities do well being mainstreamed. I'm one of them. Number 2, people with IDD and other disabilities are not college material and should not be permitted to attend college. I made it through college, and there have been others with disabilities who have done likewise. Number 3, people with IDD and other disabilities can never excel in sports, music, public speaking, or any of the performing arts. I sang in a chorale for 3 years and have been in an opera, and I used to sing the national anthem at professional sporting goods from 2006 to 2011. Well, I've been doing it again at recent years for the Colorado Springs Switchbacks, which now I'm a season ticket holder. There are others with IDD with special gifts in these areas. A lot of self-advocates are quite active in public speaking, and they do very good at it. I have been a member of Toastmasters for over 30 years. People with disabilities do not excel in a lot of these areas mentioned above, yet they are quite often discouraged by others. Let me read that again. People with disabilities do excel in a lot of these areas mentioned above, yet they are quite often discouraged by others who don't have disabilities. People with disabilities often face adversity when relating to people who don't have disabilities. This is especially true when people with disabilities have been mainstreamed. And and the rest of this reading is divided into 3 sections. Section 1. Self-advocates help people with IDD overcome adversity. People with IDD and other disabilities are considered a minority group in society. They make up the number one minority group when it comes to being recipients of social prejudice. The prejudice stems from people trying to put this minority group into a box. This is yet another reason that self-advocates are needed in society. In a lot of ways, people with disabilities are like everyone else in that they have certain unique gifts and passions they like to pursue, and they should be allowed to pursue these, especially if they have excelled in these ventures in the past. I have excelled in singing and in Toastmasters public speaking, which are two of my biggest passions. Even so, I sometimes still face adversity. People with disabilities sometimes have interests and passions they don't excel at, yet they still want to pursue them. Naturally, there would be a lot of adversity they would have to deal with. Should people with disabilities be permitted to pursue activities and passions they don't excel in, where the performance of these activities is mediocre at best? My answer to that question is that as long as there is no immediate danger to the person or life-threatening situation involved, yes. Section 2. High school sports. Pursuing my passions. I was born a forceps baby with some damage to my central nervous system. One thing my mother would never permit me to do was to go out for football because of the immediate dangers involved in being hit or tackled. I did get to serve as a varsity manager on the varsity football squad at Thomas S. Wooten High School in Rockville, Maryland, during the fall of 1973. In 1970, I began to pursue a passion and interest in something I was never much good at, and that was playing basketball. I played on a church basketball team at First Presbyterian Church in Fair Oaks in 1970 and 1971. I was in the 9th grade and was playing with kids who were college age. I was not very good, and I got very little playing time. I only scored 8 points during the entire season in the church basketball league. My only accomplishment playing on the team was that I never quit and I didn't give up. The team at Fair Oaks Presbyterian Church won the league championship, and at the end of the season, when each player's got championship trophies, I received a special basketball trophy for being the most courageous player. Later that summer, the family moved to Washington, D.C. area on the East Coast. I had developed a strong passion for excelling in being a high school basketball player. I had learned to shoot baskets very well, but later I would find out that there was more to being a high school basketball player than being a dead shot with a basketball. Much more. I began my junior year of high school and I was enrolled in special education as I had some learning disabilities. I had decided to take the plunge and try out for the varsity or junior varsity basketball team. For me, the tryouts were a flop. I didn't impress anyone. In fact, many athletes at Wooten High School resented me for even trying. Being a star basketball player or even an average high school player wasn't part of the Almighty's plan for my life. Later I came to realize that. Section 3. One door closes, another one opens. Finding success. Does this mean that people should not pursue activities they don't excel in? True, I didn't succeed as a high school basketball player, but quite often, when one door closes in one's life, a better door opens in its place, which generates more success. A couple of the faculty members of the high school saw how much I desired to be part of the life of the school despite my disabilities. One of them was a teacher in the English department, Mr. Ron Bowes, who was also the wrestling coach. He was looking for a varsity equipment manager for the wrestling team, and I took great pride in being a team manager. I had found something that I did excel in. The varsity football and track squad coach, Mr. Jack Loudenberg, saw the work I was doing for the varsity and JV wrestling teams, and he liked what I did. In the spring of 1973, he asked me to be the team manager for the track squad and later for the varsity football team at the beginning of my senior year. I accepted both times and continued to be successful. A lot of coaches in the athletic department grew to like me more and more, and a lot of the high school athletes, seeing this, grew to like me and befriend me as well, including the ones who reviled me for trying to become a high school basketball player. I acquired school popularity in the fall of 1973. Thomas S. Wooten High School had only one varsity team manager. Let me read that again. Thomas S. Wooten High School had only been in existence for 3 to 4 years when I attended there and became a varsity team manager. I became the first varsity manager in the history of that school to become a varsity 3-letterman. That went over big with the school, and my life was changed forever. This has had a positive impact on my life to this day. I am over 60 years old now and happy with the way my life has turned out. I had finally given up the notion of becoming a basketball star, but in pursuing the passion in the fall of 1973, it led to something much better and brought great success in my life. Serving as a team manager enabled me to be myself and appreciate myself for who I really am. So, yes, people with IDD and other disabilities should be allowed to pursue their passions and goals, because if they aren't successful, quite often another door will open up where they will be successful. They will also learn valuable lessons, which will have a positive impact on their lives for the rest of their lives. And that's the end of tonight's reading. And I hope you enjoyed my interpretive reading of Realities of Being a Self-Advocate, Part 4 from my book, Web Files. I will be doing web speech platform readings over on Facebook for the next 3 months and recording some songs, old folk songs there as well. And I should be back to my Frontier Web Singer channel on YouTube sometime when the new school year begins in mid-August. You all have a good night now.